Good evening, everyone. Welcome to NTD Tonight. I'm David Zhang. Here is a preview of some of today's top stories. Cranes are now moving wreckage from the bridge collapse site. More updates on the current effort. Fast food chains in California brace for the new $20 minimum wage law to take effect. Find out how different restaurants are responding. Thirsty, Florida will soon allow the sale and purchase of massive-sized bottles of wine in the state. First up, latest updates on the bridge that collapsed in Baltimore. Cranes are set to begin removing the wreckage of the bridge. The federal government pledged to provide $60 million funding. Let's take a look. At least 2 cranes will be used to clear the channel. One of them is the largest crane on the eastern seaboard and can lift up to 1,000 tons. The Biden administration approved $60 million in immediate aid. Officials say they have to start clearing the wreckage before anyone can reach the bodies of the 4 missing workers. Using sonar equipment, authorities say they saw vehicles that appeared to be encased in a superstructure of concrete and other debris.
The dolly is almost as long as the Eiffel Tower. And the dolly has the key bridge on top of it. We're talking 3,000 to 4,000 tons of steel that's sitting on top of that ship. So we've got work to do.
Authorities halted body recovery efforts because of dangerous conditions. Now let's take a look at other top headlines. Current and former presidents in Manhattan yesterday. In a race to 4 more years in White House, President Biden shared the stage with his former boss Obama and former President Clinton for a discussion moderated by the Late Show host Stephen Colbert at Radio City Music Hall in front of thousands of guests. The fundraiser was punctuated by several protests inside the massive auditorium, with attendees rising at several different moments to shout over the discussion. They called out Biden's backing of Israel in its war with the Hamas terror group. Pro-Palestinian protesters also gathered outside the event. At least 1 protester was taken to custody. Organizers say the event raised more than $25 million for Biden's re-election campaign. That's a new single-event fundraising record. Tickets reportedly cost between $250,000 and $500,000 per person. Just miles away, Trump attended the wake for slain NYPD officer Jonathan Diller as he campaigned on the issue of crime. Diller, a 3-year veteran of the force, was fatally shot below his bulletproof vest during a traffic stop on Monday in Queens. He was rushed to a hospital where he died. 2 suspects have been taken to custody. Trump commented on the lengthy rap sheet of the suspected killer.
We're just not going to let it happen. We just get 21 times arrested, thug. And the person in the car with him was arrested many times. And they don't learn because they don't respect. They're not given the respect.
The former president spoke with the fallen officer's wife.
Their child, brand new, beautiful baby, sweet, innocent as can be, and doesn't know how his life has been changed.
Trump called for change, saying such deaths are happening far too often. U.S. Immigration and Customs Enforcement, or ICE, announced yesterday that their officers arrested 216 illegal immigrants with drug-related convictions in a 2-week-long nationwide operation. These arrests took place from March 11th to March 26th across 25 different jurisdictions, including major cities such as Boston, Seattle, and Washington, D.C. Those arrested include a 44-year-old citizen of Mexico in Baltimore, Maryland, convicted of felony money laundering and drug trafficking, and a 34-year-old citizen of El Salvador in Cincinnati, Ohio, convicted of felony conspiracy to possess with intent to distribute fentanyl. According to the U.S. Centers for Disease Control and Prevention, drug overdose deaths rose 30% between 2019 and 2020, and another 15% between 2020 and 2021. More than 109,000 Americans died from drug overdoses in the 12 months ending January 2023, and nearly 70% of those deaths involved illegally manufactured fentanyl. The Wall Street Journal published a blank front page today as homage to their reporter, Evan Gershkovich, who has spent a year behind bars in Russia after his arrest on suspicion of espionage. Gershkovich, 32, became the first U.S. journalist arrested on spying charges in Russia since the Cold War. He was detained by the Russian Federal Security Service on March 29, 2023. A Moscow court rejected an appeal from Gershkovich and upheld a decision by a lower court to extend the journalist's detention until June 30th. Russian Security Service accused Gershkovich of being a spy, a charge he and the Wall Street Journal have denied. If convicted, Gershkovich faces up to 20 years in prison. The Kremlin says there are ongoing negotiations regarding a potential prisoner swap that could send the journalist back to the U.S., but a government spokesperson said these conversations would remain secret. Fast food restaurants across California are bracing for the new minimum wage hike for employees starting April 1st. People can expect layoffs and more expensive meals.
Some California fast food restaurants are laying off workers to prepare for the $20 minimum wage hike on April 1st. Governor Gavin Newsom signed the bill into law in September. According to Business Insider, in December, 2 franchisees for Pizza Hut plan to lay off 1,200 employees. It may get rid of their own delivery drivers and opt for third-party delivery instead. McDonald's will not have a uniform price change, but it told the Los Angeles Times that it would figure out how to counterbalance the increase in labor costs. Coffee lovers can also expect higher drink prices at Starbucks. Auntie Anne's and Cinnabon have considered layoffs or closures. The new law would increase the minimum wage by $4, from $16 per hour to $20. Melissa Melendez, a former California state representative, explains to California Insider Opinion why there was so much controversy.
Now, the state of California would never put up with something like that. If the federal government said, well, California, we've decided we're going to dictate what your minimum wage is in California. And we think that minimum wage, because it's so expensive to live in California, it should be $40 an hour. Oh, and that's going to include all of your government employees. They all have to get paid $40 an hour. Do you think the state of California would take that line down? Of course not, because it would bankrupt them. And that's what they're doing with all of these fast food franchises.
Previously, there was controversy over whether the law allowed Panera to be exempted from the wage increase because the owner is a friend who donated to Newsom's campaign. The exemption in the law says if an establishment produces and sells bread on site as a standalone item, such as a bakery, they can keep wages at $16 an hour, which implied Panera. But Newsom's office denied the connection, adding that Panera would not be exempted from the wage hike.
You can now uncork a massive bottle of wine with ease in Florida. NTD's Christina Corona tells us more about the recently signed bill in the Sunshine State.
Governor Ron Desantis visited Wine Watch in Fort Lauderdale on Thursday to sign a bill permitting Floridians to purchase large wine bottles starting later this year.
A bottle like this was not able to be sold in a store like this in the state of Florida.
And the signage of HB 583 into law will allow Florida businesses to sell and purchase wine in glass containers up to 15 liters, as we're seeing here.
Desantis said if Floridians can purchase a large bottle of wine online from another state, they should be able to buy one from their local wine or grocery store. Previously, it was unlawful for a business to sell a bottle holding more than 1 gallon of wine, unless it was in a reusable container. Representative Chip LaMarca spent over 5 years crafting the bill, believing it's not good policy to criminalize wine sales based on container size in Florida.
This is an Italian-American owned business, an Italian-American governor, and an Italian-American state representative. So wine is a big part of our culture, whether it's the American side or the Italian side.
This now allows Florida to be competitive with other states already selling wine in these larger quantities. Florida's wine and spirits industry already has a $10.2 billion impact, which can significantly contribute to the state's economy. When factoring in suppliers, producers, wholesalers, and retailers, this impact swells to over $17 billion.
This is an example of us cutting unnecessary red tape and eliminating out-of-state regulations. We want our businesses to thrive. We want our consumers to be happy. And if that means they want to buy and sell a big old bottle of wine like this, then by golly, they're going to be able to do that in the state of Florida.
The bill will go into effect on July 1st. Christina Corona, NTD News.
We'll take a short break now, everybody, but here's a look at what we have for you when we come back. Expanding police's power to arrest the shoplifters. This California bill is gaining bipartisan support despite critics. Easter is this weekend and sweet shops have been busy gearing up for the holiday rush. We'll take a look at how one chocolatier prepares. Those stories and more coming up on NTD Tonight. Welcome back to NTD Tonight. I'm your host, David Zhang. Retail theft in California has been an ongoing issue debated among state leaders. A bill that would give police more capability to arrest the shoplifters has bipartisan support to help combat the issue. However, some critics say it would only contribute to mass incarceration. NTD's Jason Blair has more.
In California, stealing items totaling a value of up to $950 is considered shoplifting and is a misdemeanor. Anything over $950 is considered theft or burglary and is a felony. According to the newly proposed Assembly Bill 1990, for a shoplifting misdemeanor, current law only allows police to arrest someone if the alleged crime happened in their presence. If passed, AB 1990 would allow police to arrest suspected shoplifters whether the alleged crime happened in their presence or not if they have probable cause. Republican Assembly member Juan Alanis, the bill's co-author, said in a March 20th press release, quote, "Strengthening our laws and enhancing enforcement capabilities are essential to deter these crimes and protect the livelihoods of our citizens." Democratic Assembly member Wendy Carrillo, the bill's author, said, quote, "The STOP Act is an urgent call to action in response to the alarming escalation of organized retail theft that threatens the very fabric of our communities." Increased retail theft has been a major concern in California. Some retailers have resorted to means like escorting shoppers to reduce the issue.
They've taken the step of asking individuals coming into the store to show their ID, to be escorted as they're shopping.
The bill also has its critics. Assembly member Tina McKinnon posted on X, quote, "We don't need AB 1990, which will only promote mass incarceration." The bill has been amended once since it was introduced in January and is currently waiting to be heard by the Committee on Public Safety. Jason Blair, NTD News.
A Los Angeles trio was sentenced for laundering Target gift cards purchased by victims of telephone scams. The suspects would use the gift card codes to make large purchases, cheating the original purchaser.
A California man and 2 Chinese nationals were sentenced on March 26 to 15, 10, and 8 years in prison, respectively, for laundering gift cards purchased by telephone scam fraud victims at Target stores across the U.S. Between June 2019 to November 2020, authorities estimate they laundered about $2.5 million. According to the U.S. Attorney's Office, the 3 were part of a network of individuals who laundered proceeds of fraud stored on Target gift cards. They pretended to be police, government personnel, and retail and tech support, then falsely offered to fix non-existent issues with the victims' online accounts or computers. In a statement, U.S. Attorney Martin Estrada said these defendants were part of a sophisticated transnational fraud operation that targeted mostly older adults to cheat them out of their savings. The suspects acquired more than 5,000 gift card numbers and access codes worth about $500 from a group in China calling itself the Magic Lamp. They were then passed on to, quote, runners to liquidate at Target stores in Southern California. The runners would quickly use the cards to purchase high-value consumer electronics and conduct other transactions. One of the main runners pleaded guilty and was previously sentenced to 20 months in federal prison.
The body of a West Point cadet was found in the Fort Lauderdale River. The academy confirmed the tragic loss and said the cadet was visiting Florida while on leave. NTD's Jason Blair has more.
23-year-old Havin Morris went missing on Saturday while visiting Fort Lauderdale, Florida on spring break. The South Florida Sun-Sentinel reported that Morris's body was found 2 days later in the New River, close to where he was last seen. West Point released a statement confirming the incident. Superintendent Lieutenant General Steve Gillen said, quote, "Cadet Morris was a valued member of the Corps of Cadets, committed to serving his country as an Army officer. The entire West Point community offers our heartfelt condolences to the Morris family." Morris's tactical officer, Major Rebecca Goff, described him as a bright, resilient young man with a determination to succeed in all he did. West Point said that according to the police, the incident appears to be an accidental drowning and no foul play is expected. Jason Blair, NTD News.
A Texas school district released the footage of the moment a cement truck collided with a school bus, leaving 2 dead. NTD's Christina Corona tells us more about the tragic story and warning viewer discretion is advised.
Dash camera video released Thursday shows the moment a cement truck veered into oncoming traffic, hitting a school bus carrying more than 40 pre-K students. The crash occurred on March 22nd around 1:59 p.m. as the bus was traveling west on Highway 21 with students from Tom Green Elementary who were returning from a field trip at the Bastrop Zoo. The FJM concrete pumping truck comes into view driving east. Seconds later, it crosses the double yellow line and makes contact with the bus. The bus swerved to avoid the truck, skidded, then rolled. Footage shows a view from the side of the bus where individuals can be seen running towards the bus, attempting to help everyone inside. 5-year-old Ulysses Rodriguez Montoya and 33-year-old Ryan Wallace died in the crash. Montoya was on the bus and Wallace was in a vehicle driving behind the bus. Officials said helicopters took 4 patients to St. David's South Austin Medical Center and 3 others were driven to the hospital. According to court documents, the driver of the concrete pumper truck admitted that he only got 3 hours of sleep the night before and he consumed cocaine the morning of the collision. The Hayes Consolidated Independent School District confirmed that 44 students and 11 adults were on the bus during the incident. The crash remains under investigation. Christina Corona, NTD News.
Now, turning our attention to the world of sports. All eyes are on the return of a boxing legend. NTD's Carlos Reyes has more on the much-anticipated showdown between Mike Tyson and Jake Paul.
There has been a significant development in the boxing world as social media star turned boxer Jake Paul has announced his next opponent, and none other than the revered heavyweight legend Mike Tyson. Scheduled for July 20th at the AT&T Stadium in Arlington, Texas, this bout is already generating considerable anticipation. The event will be streamed live on Netflix, ensuring a global audience for what promises to be an intriguing matchup. At 57 years old, Tyson remains an iconic figure in the sport, despite his last professional fight dating back to 2005. His recent exhibition bout with Roy Jones Jr. showcased glimpses of his former prowess, yet he faces a considerable challenge against the 30-year-old Paul, who has been rapidly ascending the ranks of professional boxing. Paul, with a record of 9-1, has captured attention with his viral knockout victories and unorthodox path to boxing stardom. His confidence in facing Tyson reflects his ambition to solidify his status in the boxing world. According to Telemange, communications manager for the Texas Department of Licensing and Regulation, TDLR, the decision-making process for the bout involved careful evaluation to ensure the safety and appropriateness of the match. Should the bout be classified as an exhibition, there are expected rule changes. Mange outlined these potential alterations: rounds reduced from the standard 3 minutes to 2 minutes, the use of 16-ounce gloves instead of the customary 10-ounce gloves, a reduction in the number of rounds, and notably no official judges scoring the bout to determine a winner. As the details continue to unfold, fans around the world eagerly await confirmation of the rules and regulations governing this historic event. Stay tuned for further updates as the July 20th showdown draws near. Carlos Reyes, NTD News.
Easter is the third busiest holiday of the year for one of the world's most beloved chocolatiers. One French pastry chef said he expects to go through 4 tons of chocolate for the holiday. NTD's Andrew Thomas has the sweets.
Jacques Torres is the chocolate executive officer at Jacques Torres chocolate manufacturer. The 25 employees at his 40,000 square foot factory in Brooklyn, New York are molding and decorating chocolate eggs, rabbits, and roosters for Easter.
It's a little bit difficult for me to tell you before Easter what we're going to produce, but my guess, seeing the other years, we're going to be around 4 tons, so 4 times 2,200 pounds, about 10,000 pounds of chocolate.
This year, Torres' team is printing personalized logos, messages, and even pictures on some of his sweets.
So one trend that we see is personalization. Customers love more and more product made for them. So we will have customers asking us for something for a family, saying happy birthday, happy holiday, happy Easter.
This year's Easter rush comes amid skyrocketing cocoa prices. Cocoa futures in both New York and London climbed to record peaks yesterday. Torres says he expects a price hike soon.
So for this year, we didn't raise our prices because it takes time between the time that the cocoa price go up and then hitting us. But I know that April, we're going to get a big hit.
Torres says he sees one remedy, selling more chocolate. Andrew Thomas, NTD News.
Stay tuned for China in Focus with Tiffany Meyer coming up next. And in more China news, has China replicated Taiwan's most critical streets in preparation for a future invasion? A satellite image reveals a training site constructed in a Chinese desert, bearing a striking resemblance to the streets of Taiwan's capital city. More details coming tonight at 9:30 p.m. Eastern on China in Focus with Tiffany Meyer. And that's what we've got for you tonight. We'd like you to join us again on NTD Tonight every weekday at 9 p.m. I'm David Zhang. Have a wonderful weekend.